All right, that should be audio going out. Looks like audio is going out. That is good. Hello, and welcome to the Odin Makes Sunday live stream. Hello, my name is Odin. Hey, Treg, hopefully you're here watching. At the moment, we're still the very beginning, and I'm not seeing Uno in the chat yet, but that's okay. Hi, it's been a couple weeks. I'm finally back. I'm trying to do my schedule again, and I'll be on 2 weeks again from now. But today, I'm going to be actually trying to work on something. Today, I need to finish recreating the science ball that goes on the top of the 8-foot Emmy that we've been working on for a couple of weeks to get prepared again for this year's Northern California Emmy Awards. And I got Treg. Yes, he's the first one here. Excellent. Of all the perfect people to be talking to, Treg and I, and as well as Shop Gremlin, and a couple of other fantastic people from the Harris Center up in Folsom, about 5 years ago now. It's really been that long. We made an 8-foot tall Emmy replica that was used for a photo op opportunity for the people who were attending the 2022, what was it, 2021 Emmy Awards that were happening in San Francisco, California. We put this together very quickly, and the first one I was adamant on how I wanted to make it because I felt it was going to be the fastest way to make it, but it didn't end up looking that good. There was the end result did not match what I wanted. Everyone was very happy, but the inner artist went, "Oh yeah, I was wrong. That was not the way to do it." So the next year, Shop Gremlin was nice enough to actually help out a lot with getting a... we used the same model that we'd used previously, and we made a 3D printed version. And we 3D printed 2 of them actually that year. We made one out of a PLA. We were trying to make one out of a gold silk PLA that wouldn't require painting. Not true. And then we made another one out of ABS at the last minute when suddenly they asked, "Hey, can we have the foam one from the year before?" Yeah, it didn't survive storage in a year because the crate fell at one point and she broke at the waist. But anyway, and so kind of at the last minute, at the 0 hour, we ended up making a second one out of ABS, and that actually printed a lot faster because of the layer height size and what we can get away with using what's called a vapor bath on ABS filament. Basically, you take an airtight container, flip crate, it doesn't take much. And you get paper towels wet with ABS, and you use magnets to attach them to the side, and then you put a little piece of, you put something in the bottom to support your 3D printed piece off of whatever's pooling acetone-wise in the bottom. And so this environment of acetone-soaked paper towels, everything starts, vaporizing, off-gassing as acetone does. It actually evaporates fairly quickly. But it's also heavier than air. So it's contained in this container and then has a lid on top of it, becomes this alternate atmosphere, which melts ABS plastic. Acetone melts ABS plastic. And so you do this thing called a vapor bath, and you can leave the parts in there actually for way longer than I thought you could. It turns out like half an hour to 45 minutes was a really good sweet spot for making things smooth, but 2.5 hours wasn't too bad. It didn't just turn them into goo. What it did do is it took all the layer lines off of the ABS build and made it look like antique glass, which is about right for an Emmy. Again, super positive, like, "Oh, these parts look great." Forgetting that we weren't able to print, the Emmy statue in its entirety in one piece. It had to be printed in multiple pieces that were then glued and fitted together, which required putty and sanding and ruined the glossy, and the whole thing ends up getting sanded anyway, and painted. And the same thing happened with the PLA one, with the silk filament. It needed to be glued together and puttied and sanded and made all pretty again. So, okay. They worked great that year. We solved some problems that I had from the previous year, and that year they both went really well. The fact that there were 2 of them worked really well. The PLA one was kind of a lower poly version. It had a lot of facets to it, right? It had a lot of large polygon facets to it. Just whatever, is what we did. We were in a rush. And when she was put on stage, which bothers me because the statue doesn't have that, right? The statue is way more like melted glass. It's a smooth trophy. It looks like it looks like it's got. It doesn't have all the It's smooth like a trophy. I don't know, what do you want me to say? But by having all the polygons on her, when she got up on stage, and they lit her with a red light from one side and a blue light from the other side, and they would change lights throughout the show. She never moved, but all those facets, all the colors on her would change, and she was actually fairly dynamic for being a static prop. It was pretty cool. So success. Here we are. It's going to be the fourth. It's got to be the fourth time for the 3D printed ones. It's got to be. It doesn't feel like that now. I'm saying that often. It feels like I'm missing one. Anyway, then the Emmys moved to Sacramento, and that happened last year, and now here they come again next weekend in Sacramento, California again this year. And we're still in the mad dash, con crunch, because, hey, I got time. Oh, wait, all my time's gone, of trying to get something fixed and put together. Huge thank you to the main coordinator and the main guy in charge of the Northern California Emmy chapter, because he's been super accommodating and very helpful with different things, right, and permissions and whatnot, as well as there's a particular individual named Randy who's been working at the KCRA, which is the NBC affiliate in Sacramento. That's where the Emmys have been stored for the past year. Randy has also been extremely helpful with getting access to the storage areas, being able to get the Emmys out, getting us in during the weekends to the TV station. So I've actually got to go inside the station, which was kind of cool. It's it's probably the biggest station in town. Yeah, it is. I shouldn't say probably. KCRA is the biggest station in town. Which is cool to me, right? Because that's my geek. Suddenly, so thank you to Randy. The other fun thing with Randy, turns out he was the one in charge of the Northern California Emmys when the entire project got greenlit way back in the day. So here I am getting to talk to basically the guy that approved the project originally, and he's super friendly and easygoing. He's great. So happy to be able to get to work with him and get to talk to him. And what am I thinking here? Yeah, I know SAC Anime is coming up, and it turns out that Randy's wife actually has interest in helping out with cosplay repair at SAC Anime. And it's like, well, do you guys do a lot of cosplay? Not that really matters, right? There's a lot of weird crossover talents and skills that go on with any kind of making that could work for cosplay. And basically, yeah, Randy's got this huge, very nicely groomed, taken care of beard, and as well as a mustache. Absolutely no hair on top. And he and his wife are constantly participating in artful beard competitions. There's a name for it. I forget what that's called. But effectively, you cosplay your beard. You do weird things to it and braid it up and gel it up and add things to it and then add things to the rest of the person to support whatever crazy thing you're doing to your beard. And so she's, a beard artist, for lack of a better term. There's way more to it than that. That's making it simplified. But absolutely, that's someone who's got some really unique, fun skills, some fun problem-solving skills. And so I'm looking forward to getting to meet her. And it sounds like she's going to be both of them more or less, are going to be part of the cosplay repair crew at SAC Anime this year, which is going to be the first weekend of September in Sacramento. Comments! Steve Dyke is here. Hey, evening all. And Stupid Monkey is here. Hello, friends, with a kanji that I just can't read. I'm sorry, Stupid Monkey. I'm too stupid of a monkey to read that. How are people's Sundays thus far? Schultz Division is here. Hey. Hello, Schultz. Just finished a corner for coffees in the house. How about you? Oh, that's awesome, Schultz. The real question of the universe is, how many black polo shirts does Odin actually own? I haven't counted recently. I know I've thrown away a great many, and I've got, 3 or 4 that don't fit. It's probably something in the neighborhood of 12. It's not a huge number, right? It's not like, oh my God, it's... Now, you could pad that number. So I got 12 or so, or 10, including the one that's embroidered with the State Department that I work for, which is like a 511 tactical polo. Yeah, they make those. It's actually kind of cool. It's got a little loop down here to hang your sunglasses on. It's got a weird little pocket up here that I had no idea. Why is there this? Because it's right at the yoke, which is a little forward, right? This yoke seam on your shirt. But it's a weird little. It's only 3 or 4 centimeters deep. It's maybe 1.5 centimeters, 50 millimeters wide. It's not very big. It might be 2 centimeters wide. It's a tiny little pocket. Turns out it's for the clip to your microphone. I call it a CV, but it's not. It's the handheld microphone that attaches to your walkie-talkie. So you can hang that right up next to your head, so you can just click it, say what you need to say, and let go. The shirt's got something for that as well. It's like all this goofy stuff, right? It's 511 tactical polo. Seriously, it is. But anyway, all the other ones are, just cotton poly. But then I've got 4 or 5 Ryobi branded ones that Ryobi gave me when I went to New York Comic Con and C2E2. And so I've got all those too, which I don't wear nearly as often. So yeah, I've got a few. But generally you see me wearing the same ones constantly. So yeah, I got polos. I need to get more. A lot of them end up getting glue stains and other icky things on them. So, they get not worn as much, and I get huge, there was one, it's taken a year, but there was one I remember where I was working, and it was a fairly new shirt, and I was really happy with it, and I'm working with PVC glue and melted PVC, and I got this right up the front of me, right here, right? Looked like I leaned into frosting on a cake. Still have that shirt. The stain is still there, but it's really faded to a point where it just doesn't bother me as much anymore. I actually wear it to the office. Schultz said I was worried to say 1. No, I have been keeping an eye out for where I can get inexpensive black polo shirts because I ruin them. And when I do find them, inexpensive being like $5 is what I used to spend on them. Now, like 7 or 9 is a cheap price. But when I do find them for that, I'll buy 5 or 6. But no, I've got quite a few. And then whenever I am here, I'm usually wearing the older ones that have already got stains on it, because I literally wear black polos to the office as well. And I try not to wear those in front of the crafting table, because I've got the clean polos that don't have this, chemical issue. And so I keep those. I try to keep those separate. I had actually picked one up today. So I'm going to put this on. And look at it. I went, no, I'm not. That's the wrong shirt. I want to keep that one good. And yeah, black polo shirts are kind of my trademark by now. Yeah, pretty much, which is fine. I don't care. Right? When I started with DIY Prop Shop, I was trying to wear screened T-shirts that went with the theme of what I was building. So if you go back and look at me on DIY Prop Shop, for the most part, after the first couple of videos, I'm wearing a T-shirt that supports whatever it is I'm working on. But that very quickly went to the wayside, because that was just buying a lot of shirts, and I just didn't have time for it. And I think I ran into, I even did it a little bit at the very beginning of Odin Makes, if I remember right. Maybe. I might have given it up by then. I might have given it up halfway through DIY Prop Shop, just because it wasn't always easy to find a shirt, and I just didn't want to keep buying shirts. It's funny that I can get a polo, especially at the time, I could get a black polo for $5. But if I wanted to get a printed T-shirt with the whatever on it that goes along with what I'm building, it was $20 to $25. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna wear polos. So, working on the Emmys. They've actually been holding up really well. They were stored in a garage for a year, and then they moved to KCRA, where they sat in which was a bit more climate controlled, right? So in the garage, actually, yeah, they were outside, and then they were. It's been a couple years in the garage, but anyway, over time, this vapor bath that we did to the ABS filament, it was interesting. Through thermal expansion and whatnot of sitting in places that have a variance of temperature, there were lots of little cracks, especially on her face, right? And some upper arm, where the surface membrane that melted of ABS started cracking. And so there's been a lot of putty work, a lot of putty work to smooth these back out, to fill those lines back in. Which is interesting, right? Because it seemed like that shouldn't be happening. ABS is supposed to be a fairly stable filament. It's got a much higher temperature. It's literally the plastic that the plastic of your dashboard is made out of, right? That's all ABS plastic for the most part. There's other pieces going on. But the basic hard plastic that is like the dashboard of an automobile, not everyone has one. Shouldn't say your automobile, because immediately the comments will say, I don't have an automobile. Is ABS plastic because it can survive the heat of the interior of a car. So we wanted to make the Emmys out of this. Not that we wanted to leave her in a hot box of a car, but no, we're not hot boxing a car, not in a car that's going to get really hot inside. But we wanted to make sure that it was something that's going to survive the Sacramento heat better, because this event always happens during the summer when it's hot. It used to be June, now it's August, still hot. But yeah, she's still got all these little micro cracks all over, and that still needed to be cleaned up. And a huge thank you to the Rosa Morton studio, and to As Seen on the Internet. That's their handle on Instagram. They've been posting stories of them working on the Emmys, and it was, you know, we were all talking one night, still hang out with them a lot, you know, really, really good friends with the people at Rosa Morton, saying that, hey, yeah, this thing's coming up, we're going to have to, like, you know, putty them up and sand them all up. They're like, oh, I want to do that. You want to do that? Yeah, that sounds like fun. So we were able to take the Emmys back to the Sacramento Media Center, where they originally got built, and yeah, as seen on the internet, they've been sanding away and taking care of pinholes and adding Bondo and adding glaze putty and all sorts of things, which is pretty amazing. And been doing everything I can to help support them. And I'm going to be kicking them something from, you know, because yeah, I'm getting paid, but there's no way I'm not going to pay them, because they did a lot of the work of taking care of the goddess portion of the statue. So thank you for that. I don't know how many of those reels are still available, but As Seen on the Internet on Instagram has posted a few reels of them sanding on it, as well as that might be on the Rosa Morton, but I think that's more for the audio recording that they do, because they're a music studio here in Sacramento. So I don't think they've been posting the Emmy builds on that channel. But they're also real, so I don't know if they're still around or not. They may have expired. Okay. Let me just spill some water. The real fun thing is I gotta find my suit. Why is this fun? I know where it is. I just gotta, you know, I hope it still fits. I don't got a choice. This year we got invited to go back to the Emmys again. The first couple years, Shock Rowan and I actually got to go to the Emmy Award event. You know, I have a couple of these, 4. So I've been to the event a few times. In fact, the last couple I won, because I won 2. The last time I won anything, I won 2 in 1 year. And put the coffee corner on Discord. Yes. That year I didn't go. I couldn't afford to go to the event. But it's been fun to be able to go when, you know, I'm bringing one of the Emmys, effectively. which realistically I am. We're hauling the Emmys down and setting them up the Friday before, which is next Friday. And then Saturday is the event in the evening. And then we get to go back again on Sunday and dismantle all the Emmys and take them back to KCRA for storage for a year. Which is cool, right? I'm okay with that. KCRA is real close to where the Sacramento Convention Center is. And all this is happening at the Sacramento Convention Center, which is a much bigger venue than what they were doing in San Francisco. It's incredibly convenient for me. It's incredibly inconvenient for all the San Francisco and Bay Area stations, but it's the Northern California Emmys, and this chapter supports everything like north of Bakersfield, south of Oregon, west of Reno, all the way out to Hawaii. All the TV stations in that region falls under the Northern California NATAS Emmy Awards. NATAS is National Association of Television Arts and Sciences, I think. So people from all these different stations, all these different markets were going to San Francisco. So having them come to Sacramento when the majority of them are coming from so far out of town wasn't a big deal. I remember being in San Francisco because that was the last one I got to actually go to the dinner. It's a dinner event. I actually got to go to the dinner event, and there was a lot of grumbling about how it's going to be moving because it'd been in San Francisco for years. And it's nice for me because I live in Sacramento, but I get it. Having things change isn't fun, but the venue is actually bigger, so which is nice. So there's reasons why they moved it. They managed to find a larger facility that supported more people because they were having a problem of selling out quickly. So that was why they moved, right? They moved in order to accommodate more attendees. So good for them. But anyway. Convenient for me because it's downtown. And then just 2 weeks later, I know I'm rambling about this, just 2 weeks later on the first weekend of September, yep, that's where Sac Anime is happening on the second floor as well. So the entire Emmy is going to be set up on for those of you who's been to Sac Anime, which is like 3 of you that are watching, the upper floor, you go into the convention hall, and there's like this 3-story escalator that goes up from the big glass doors that are the western entrance of the Sacramento Convention Center. Sacramento Media Center. Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. So the Sacramento Convention Center. And up on that top floor is immediately at the top of that huge escalator, off to the left, they call it Ballroom A and B, which has an air wall, so you can take the air wall out and combine that whole ballroom into one big ballroom. And then it doesn't have a dedicated stage. They just go in and build the stages that they need and rearrange the room as required. It's just a large, nicely made up room. It's not like a multi-purpose room with a basketball court. It's carpeted. It's got, nice walls, so on and so forth. So they open the whole thing up, and that's where the Emmys happen. What's fun is in 2 weeks, that's where all the artists are. That's where all the voice actors are. That's where all the autographs are for Sac Anime. That's the same room that they're going to set up for all those people to be able to be in. Autograph Alley, right? That's same spot. And then I'm on the second floor over by the east entrance in the cosplay gathering area. That's where I get to set up for doing cosplay repair. So it's going to be kind of fun getting to go to the convention center a couple weeks early and not see anybody I know from Sac Anime. All right. Schultz Vision is asking if anyone's seen the new Stewart Fails to Save the Universe. I have not. I'll be honest, I haven't watched that. I finished watching them all, and I actually managed to finally watch the back rooms, but no, I haven't. I have not seen that. All righty. Where are we at? What time is it? 15 minutes. One of the things that's happened with the Emmys, I'm watching when I'm supposed to be going live. Not that it, Oh, right. Stupid Monkey hasn't watched any of the Big Bang Theory spinoffs. Same, I haven't either. I didn't watch Big Bang Theory much. That was a show that, when I saw episodes, I generally enjoyed it, but it wasn't one that got my attention strong enough to have me tune in every week. Big Emmys. So Actually, after the live stream, we'll be heading down to the Sacramento Media Center and start painting these things. And they're being painted with duplicolor paints again. This is when we started using automotive paints, because what the 8-foot Emmy does is it sets out, and it's 8 feet tall, so a 6-foot person can stand next to it, which puts them right about the bottom of the science ball. This part here is the science ball. This is about 2 feet tall, so a person stands pretty much head to head with her. So the base is pretty tall. What ends up happening is people come out and they'll do the Captain Morgan thing. We've actually seen people sit on the base of the giant Emmy, and of course when they want to take pictures, the whole thing is to have this self-portrait selfie station with this giant Emmy, because you're at the awards, right? It's the way everybody can take a picture with an award, even if they don't actually win. A lot of people will walk up and put their hand around her waist, or worse, and touch her and hold on to her. So the first year, the paint survived. We used a fairly inexpensive, high gloss, nice looking paint, one that I've used a lot of times on the props, but we could see, even after one night, a little bit of wear on it. So we started using the duplicolor automotive paints, which is a way tougher paint, right? This is something designed to go on a car and be outside. That stuff held up great. It also dries faster. It costs a little more, but with it holding up better and drying faster and being a thinner, there's so many things. I'm like, fine, I don't care about it costing a little bit more at this point. So we're going to need to paint her again. And something else that we noticed with painting the droids, because when we painted the R6 droid, that was with duplicolor paint. We got a hold of the high gloss sealer and painted the droid with that, and that really helped the shininess of it. Because even though it's a silver automotive paint, it's not this, right? It's not chrome, and it still won't be. But if we put a high gloss over a good metallic gold paint, we'll get closer to this. And that's something that we're going to try and do this year. So we're going to try and do tomorrow. But that's painting, or actually later today, actually, I guess. And all this week. As long as they're done being painted by like Wednesday, so they can have, cure time, it'll be fine. Because we have to set it up Friday. So there's be a lot of like touching and moving and manhandling on Friday. But the science balls have always been a real tricky thing to get to build, because this ends up being 2 feet tall when we building the 8-foot Emmy, and it's just a thin ribbon of metal, right? Let me see if I can't. All right, sorry about that. I'm coming back. I did the whole focus zoom thing. So the science ball is actually way out there and out of focus. How convenient. It's a fairly thin bit of metal, right? On the actual trophy. And so to scale it up, it's still got a pretty good thickness. This is easily a millimeter thick, which means I could get it to be, a quarter of an inch thick or something, or more, 6 millimeter, 7 millimeter, and it would still be fine. It would still look accurate and fine. But the thing is, it's a hollow ribbon ball. It's literally 5 rings that are glued together. You see, it took me a while to realize this. If you look at it, you got a crisscross, where am I looking at it? Straight on, there you are, the X. So you got this, so there's 1 ring here and 1 ring here, and then if you rotate, you got 3 rings here, right? You got the same crisscross and then yet another one. So there's 5 rings that are all inside of each other. And there's always been this concern with building this thing of making the rings so when it's all put together, it maintains being a perfect sphere. But it's not. Here, with the way the crisscross goes and with looking at this X and this X piece, it really makes it look squished. But because this is actually the ring. It's not perfectly round. It's close, but it's not. And so I've kind of given up on trying to make sure that everything is going to be perfectly round. What I am going to do is I'm going to make a bunch of plastic rings, and then I'm going to nest them together, and I'm going to glue them together, and I'm going to hope that they don't become an ostrich egg. Okay. Talking about Big Bang Theory still. So for the past week or so, I've been slowly making new rings that are, these are more like about 26 inches or so in diameter. Not quite 2 feet, but that's still, 2 feet. It's easy to say. Are these good? These were all just simply done by hand. I literally took a piece of, get those nest. Well, they sort of nest. I took a piece of cardboard. I drew out my 26-inch square on the cardboard, and then I would take strips of styrene and laid them together, and ended up doing basically 3 layers. So I would take, this is all I got left. This and this. There's like hardly anything left from a 4 foot by 4 foot sheet, effectively, of this 1.5, 1.66 millimeter, something like that. It's not very thick styrene. But I ended up creating an arc with it, with all the layers, and then I would clamp it ridiculous amounts of time, and then glue it together, right, using the basically weld on 16. And this seems like it's working out really well. I just did it all by hand because it's not gonna. I put in a lot of effort the very first year when I made the very first science ball, which is actually out in the garage, I think, out of steel. It was a metal banded steel, and I did this same technique, but I put it together with epoxy because didn't have the ability to weld it at the time. And I still feel like going metal is going to be the best, but I'm still not set up to do it. We were this close to doing it this year, only to find out that, well, one, I didn't have enough steel. Details, right? But the spot welder that we picked up like 2 years ago to do this, I don't have the right plug in order to plug it into the dryer outlet here in the house. So I can't, because it's a 240 volt, which isn't as common in the States as it is in other countries. Those are usually for the larger appliances. So to us, it's an appliance plug. I don't have the right plug to be able to connect to it, to be able to connect it to the house. So that's a goal for next year, is to try and get the spot welder actually welding. We have finally unboxed it, but to actually finally get it connected to power to be able to do its thing. So hopefully, if I have to make another science ring, we can just do it out of steel. The other big concern I have with doing it out of metal, I mean, this has still got a pretty good amount of weight to it. It's plastic. It doesn't weigh that much, but still, she's 3D printed, and her wrists as well as her ankles are tiny. Her ankle is not much bigger than my wrist, and her wrists are smaller. She's got some support material inside in order to help hold things up, but still, I'm afraid of putting too much weight, right? Because I don't want to stress her arms and make things crack. The very first one we did had a rebar skeleton inside. We weren't able to salvage that and reuse it for the 3D print one because we weren't able to build a 3D print around it. Not with the way that we had sliced and started 3D printing the parts. So we ended up making a PVC pipe one. And that's still not that strong, but it's, the thicker walled Schedule 40 PVC pipe. It's running up inside of her, and she's totally backfilled with expanding foam. So the combination of the PVC pipe and the expanding foam actually makes them fairly sturdy. And then I do believe she has a piece of metal pipe that runs in her ankle, because that's nothing but torque and nothing but leverage down in her ankle. So she's got a metal pipe for her ankle, but once it starts angling off of that, it's PVC pipe all the way up. So I've got concern over making the science ball too heavy, because I don't want to stress out the internal structure but it still feels like it's going to be the right way to do it in the future. I just wish I had the materials and ability to do that out of aluminum, because that would be lighter than steel. But still, all right. Yeah, let's just go ahead and go live. Oh, I've got my, I'm zoomed way in because, there we go. That way, with my glasses off, I can see the chat. Yeah, it's going to be way better for me to just, sorry. Yeah, we're going to watch Odin Makes live, and what's he going to do? He's going to fumble with the internet. It's okay, you guys are used to this now, right? So we'll go public. Done. And we'll add this to the live streams playlist. Done. And save. And then we're going to want to bring this back. Zoom. Come on, zoom. You're not zooming. I saw a question. Odin fumbles the universe. Yes. Is it the science ball that uses the cat toys? Good question for Stupid Monkey. Yes. The science ball uses the cat toys. If you paid attention when I was trying to show off the actual size Emmy, she has these little atoms, balls or whatever, that are inside the traces, right? There's 5 traces, and I think there's 6 nuclei. So I don't know what the hell this thing is. That's why they just call it a science ball, because it doesn't fit what it needs to be. But these guys, yeah, they're cat toys, because it's the easiest way to do it is to we originally coated them with urethane. I'll probably still do that. Once again, I failed to bring it out here with me when I was getting set up, but I've got some of the ones from the last science ball that broke. So this was a science ball from last year. And what's happening with this science ball is these are the 42 millimeter. Let me go ahead and go back to that. These are the 42 millimeter cat toys that were covered with Smooth-On's urethane. I can't remember what it's called right now, but it's a urethane made to cover styrofoam. And then they're just stuck on with nails, right? And then the science ball itself was what is it? 2.5 millimeters. It's 1/8 inch. Foamed PVC. So it's effectively Sintra, but it's not the Sintra brand. It's whatever brand that Tap Plastics carried. And so made the science balls out of these. These were very lightweight, but they're not super strong, right? That's the issue. And in fact, they got more brittle over time because they weren't that bad before. But I've got 4 of the original science balls, so I'm going to need to dip up at least 2 more. Oh, you can actually, this one actually took direct damage. I'll probably end up making a whole new set. Honestly, I could just plastic dip them too, but yeah, I'm not quite sure which I want to do. I'll probably cover the urethane because it gives a harder shell, which is nice. But so I'll be doing this too, getting these set up. Yeah. Between the two, yeah, the new rings are thicker. But what happened was something in storage over the year. Even when I was making these, one of the rings ended up getting weakened, right? Wherever one of the joints was, it had started to crack. And so that caused it to get kind of egg-shaped because there was this one weak point in the rings. And so over the year at KCRA, they rolled, they fell, something fell on them, something happened, and this one shattered. Oh well. This one did not. And I could definitely tell that what's interesting is, how is this actually lighter? I mean, it is. I guess I can pick it up, but I can tell it's lighter. This is very lightweight. This being multiple pieces of styrene, this is probably 3 times as heavy. And so this is probably closer to what the steel one was I did the first year. But it's fine. So I got to take these 5 rings and make one of these out of it. Shouldn't be too hard. It should take a little bit of time, but a lot of the time it's going to be waiting for the glue to set so I can move on. And I'm definitely going to need to keep an eye on this one. Yeah. Trying to remember what I did so I can do it again, right? Because one of the big concerns I have is with the atom paths. There's some wiggle room, but they've got to land in her hands because there's holes that I put into the science ball. Here we are. That end up screwing into the palms of the Emmy replica that we built, and that's how she's able to hold the science ball, because she's got screw mounts in the palms of her hands, which are 1/4 so I suppose I can also put a camera there. But anyway, let's put this together. Hello and welcome to the Odin Makes Sunday live stream. I'm actually trying to build something today. I went live about 5 minutes ago, live open to the public. Hey, we got lots of people here. Cool. Odin Fumbles the Universe. Hey, Law. Chase Hookhill is here. Odin, okay. Odin Law, whichever one it is. Sage is here. Hello. The new Spaceballs spin-off, Science Balls, as well as James a Sub-Zero is here. James A Sub-Zero. James a Sub-Zero. Hey, James. So the original plan, the original hope was that, let me reset the camera back to not being on extreme zoom. It's not as easy to reach as it used to be. Yeah, it's out of reach. All right. So the rings, the first time I made them, when they were made out of steel, they nested into each other. And there was actually a lot of effort and a lot of time spent trying to make sure that they would do that. Not so much, I noticed with the foam one, like the one that just broke, it didn't need to be. It wasn't as critical. Okay, good. Looks like I got a lot of these to be about the same size. I've got that one that's ridiculously smaller. Should probably be beneficial that I've got one a little smaller. Good. So these are all slightly different sizes. But there was effort made, and also not perfectly round. Shock. This was probably the one's been hanging for the week. They were made to nest into each other, so once all the attachment points were put in, they'd be able to spin and they'd be able to be round. And that was the idea. That was what we wanted to do. But the issue is that's only true for the poles, for the very North Pole and the very South Pole, right? Those two things, that works out. But once it's spread out, once you start making connections beyond right here, and you start making these connections, you're pulling the atom trails inward and kind of pulling the inside one outward in order to make them touch each other. So I stopped caring. Right? I'm going to be stressing this thing anyway, so I stopped caring. But with this one being small, this will be the... There's the 3 that intersect and there's 2 that intersect. I will save these for the 2 that intersect in the middle. It really isn't much more difficult than that. The big thing is trying to make sure that I've got the poles right? Yeah, I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm sure the company that makes the actual Emmy trophies has a jig set up, has something set up for them to make sure, I need a bigger clamp than that, to make sure that when they put the science balls together, things line up right, but they're still just done by hand, right? These aren't cranked out by a super high-tech computer. These are I'm sure, cast, and the science ball, I'm sure, is soldered together by hand for each and every one. So I am not worried about being crazy CNC science correct on my science ball, because I'm pretty sure, just by looking at it and just by thinking about how many of these things go out every year, and it's not just the Northern California chapter. There's multiple regional chapters nationwide for these things. And they all get the same trophy. There's no way they are, you know, fully cranked up by machine. I'm sure they are done out by artisans who are paid appropriately for where they are. Museum Dave is here. It says, good afternoon, Odin, Shop Gremlin, crew, and everyone. Excellent. Hello, Museum Dave. David Taylor says, I went to church today. Awesome, David. Good for you. So a big thing with doing the glue is giving it a chance to dry, waiting for the glue to dry. And that's 100% something we're going to be doing. And that's actually fine. It's kind of funny. It's like, here I was worried about, am I going to have enough time? Now I'm worried about, am I going to be able to stretch this out for the whole thing? Now I do wish I had brought the Epsilon urethane so I could do the cat toys, but I'm just not set up for that. And that's going to require a little too much walking away from the camera to find all those parts. Oh yeah, I was going to sand these too. Oh, I'll sand it later. I suppose I still could a little bit. I kind of need to make sure that I don't have really ugly okay, so this is off. I'm kind of fighting my desire to cover up the seams, but those were 100% arbitrary when I was just putting the strips together. So to put a lot of effort into covering up seams isn't going to necessarily get me the correct orientation of the parts. Also, even with the foam to PVC rings that we did, I ended up putting fasteners through the poles where I've got both of the clamps right now. I ended up putting Chicago bolts or something through them to help give them a little more strength. I think also I did that so I could figure this out easier, right? I was able to actually move the parts around. But my intent today is to glue these together. So I think one of the things I need to do is make this thing legs so it can stand? Can I trust it like this? I don't know if I want to trust it like that. Well, that is not in a direction that's easy for me to get. These Home Depot clamps are so much stronger in spring than the Harbor Freight Tools ones. All right, so if I do that, yeah, that worked a little better. All right, cool. Looks like I'm going to be able to do the science, the atoms too. All right, Oh, I'm actually really glad I did that. This has got, if this is my bottom, everyone, I'm showing my bottom on camera. If this is the bottom of the science bowl, the top is off. This is way off axis. Thanks, Schultz. Remember to leave a like on the stream. Richard Stroh is here. Schultz Vision saying, careful getting it being watermelon shaped. Yeah, it's got a possibility of doing that. And Nevitz 0007 is in. Hello, Nevitz. This is one of those things where, yeah, you know, I could take all the pieces, I could set them down, I could do some measurements, I could figure out exactly where straight across is at every one of them. I could just eyeball it, and hope that I do it right, once I start putting glue on it. It's still that way. And since none of these were set up to be specific measurements of round to begin with, I'm kind of okay with just fiddling with it because it just has to look good, right? And so as long as it looks good on the statue, then I should be good, right? It's kind of like cosplay. As long as it looks good, you're good. That's there. And then I'll rotate this again. Now I got the weight of the clamp on top, so it's smashing it a little bit. So I'm not too worried about that. The clamp won't live on there permanently. It's just there for this process. One of those times when if I'd set up my Lazy Susan or turntable. But that requires planning ahead. You know what I don't do? I don't do a lot of planning ahead. Now I question myself with the little tripod arrangement I built. How well is that showing me straight up and down versus tilting the whole thing? And then I'm going to adjust for the tilt that I may be introducing with my clamps. I still think that's probably fine. So the glue. I've always been a huge fan of Weld-On 16. Weld-On 16 is not specifically a styrene glue. Weld-On 4 is usually what Tap Plastics and other plastic suppliers recommend for styrene. Weld-On 4 is a lot more like the classic model glue you're used to. It is a thicker glue. It comes out of like a toothpaste tube. Weld-On, but you can get 4, I think, in liquid form as well. Now I'm confusing myself as to which number is which. Is this 4 or is this 16? This is 16, isn't it? Weld-On 16 is specifically for acrylic plastic. And what it does is it actually melts the surface of the acrylic plastic and the neighboring one through capillary action. And so the two bits of plastic end up, due to solvency, right, as a solvent glue, it melts the plastics together, and that's how it bonds the plastic together. So what the glue is doing is it's melting both halves, causing them to intermix a little bit there on the surface, and then as the glue flashes off and evaporates, the plastic goes back into its solid state, and the two pieces are bonded together. And they're bonded together by a chemical reaction by making the surface melted like ice, right? As opposed to, say, a layer of super glue, where it is literally a layer of adhesive, or even contact cement, where it's a layer of adhesive holding the two materials together. This was necessary, especially with acrylic, for making, say, museum cases and display cases, where the seams are not only visible but need to be transparent. And so that's what's been done for years for display cases. But it works well for styrene plastic as well. It does the exact same thing, even more aggressively, for styrene plastic. But getting a hold of enough Weld-On 16 to, say, put an entire droid together, let alone rebuild a science ball. The science ball is actually a much smaller project. It's pretty expensive to purchase it in a large quantity, you know, directly from, say, Tap Plastics, or to have it shipped. So I believe Shop Gremlin had the brilliant idea to figure out what is the recipe for Weld-On 16. Well, that's actually a closely guarded secret. Can't blame the Weld-On Corporation for not making that publicly known. But what is publicly known and required is a material safety and data sheet, and that lists the major chemicals that are in it. There's a few that we probably don't know, but the two major chemicals that make up Weld-On 16 is acetone. This is easy to get, even still in California. And butyl acetate. This is N-butyl acetate, but it works just as well. Butyl acetate, not as easy to get in California, but I'm still able to get some shipped. And I was able to get 2 bottles of butyl acetate shipped to me for about half the cost of, or even less, of buying this amount of Weld-On 16. And so the two of them, it's a 50-50 mix. That's it. It really isn't much more complicated than that. Acetone is doing all the work. Acetone is melting ABS. Acetone is melting the styrene. There are literally YouTube channels where guys have taken Lego sets and dumped them into fish tanks full of acetone to do a time lapse of the set melting and turning into goo. And that is what acetone does. And acetone is used in a ton of different industries. It's not just painting. It's also, you know, for your nails, you know, for acrylic nails and all sorts of different things. The N-butyl acetate is literally just a inhibitor. It is an evaporation inhibitor. The two of them mixed together. Acetone can off-gas and evaporate, especially in high temperatures, so incredibly quickly you won't get the glue effect. This inhibits it for enough time to allow it to glue together. Does that mean that I could add a little more of this and a little less of that in order to make a longer lasting glue that would set better? Yeah, I probably could. I'm not putting that much effort into it. I'm just eyeballing, well, I got 50 milliliters of this, 50 milliliters of that there. I got a bunch made up. Now what happens is the acetone evaporates out of this bottle and you're left with the butyl acetate. So the first batch that we did months ago for the droid, that's why I put the tape on it to see what evaporation's happening. This was the level when we were done working on the droid, and when I brought this back out, it was about halfway or further down the tape, because even in this chemically resistant bottle, it isn't a metal bottle, and so it still evaporates. The acetone still escapes out of this. So I just treated it as if it was, you know, that's my butyl acetate, and I used it and then topped off what I needed to get to my whatever amount I was pouring, and then added more acetone. So I have a little more acetone but anyway, it's been working well for me. All told, between buying a half a gallon of acetone from a big box hardware store and buying half a gallon of butyl acetate online from a chemical supply place, was less than buying half a gallon of, considerably less than buying half a gallon of Weld-On 16. I think it was less than buying a quart of Weld-On 16. So, yeah, worth it. I've got something from wow, got a $10 super chat for Shadowlands Radio. Hey, Odin, just got back to finishing my Snowman Rhinestone project. Plus, I've written lyrics for a couple of albums. That's awesome. And thank you for the super chat, Shadowlands. Suba Monkey says, that's a horrible abuse of Lego. Yes, it is. The one channel I'm thinking of, years ago, they did the video. They went and got a Millennium Falcon and a huge fish tank, right? And so the Falcon could fit in it sideways. And they're setting up the shot without fluid in it. And of course, they're telling, because it's fun, right? Oh, I'm going to destroy this thing. They're telling the secondhand Lego store when they went out and bought the. No, it's not the big $800 one, but it was, one of the ones that came with minifigs, and it was retired at the time, so they were paying a premium to get this retired set. They're telling the shop what they're going to do, and the shop's like, "You're kidding." And all right, well, yeah, your money, whatever you want to do. And so they set everything up, and they decided that the fish tanks are a little boring. So they went back to the shop, and they bought some off-brand base plates, basically to give it some backdrop, right? And to give it some other color to make it interesting. So they put all this into the fish tank. They pour in gallons of acetone. They set up their time-lapse camera. And those off-brand, non-Lego base plates clouded the acetone, like almost immediately. They poured it in, and there were particulates immediately floating in the tank. And by the time the process was half over, they kept shooting it because they're committed at that point, right? By the time it was like halfway over, you couldn't see the Millennium Falcon anymore because everything was just white from this off-brand, plastic that's floating around. So they took a picture of it. They went back to the Lego shop. They said, well, this happened. And of course, the employees are still horrified that they destroyed this, retired collectible Millennium Falcon set. So we need to buy another one and get Lego base plates so we can do this right. And he can actually, so they actually destroyed 2 for this one video. We melted the Millennium Falcon in acetone or whatever. Yeah, I'm sure you can find it. It's like 5 or 6 years old at this point. But yeah, fun. That's it. Shopgirlman found the recipe from somebody who was making glue for doing Gunpla, I believe, or tabletop models for tabletop wargaming. Found on Instagram by melting the sprues down. It gets worse and worse. Yes, it does, Dave. Hello, Ralph. Okay, so this bottle is an applicator bottle. This is something that they've used for a very long time for applying, water-thin solvents to plastics. Basically, it has the thin metal proboscis, and then you've got your bottle. And ideally, especially if you're doing this with clear acrylic, you're going to want to evacuate some air out of the bottle, and then you can let it inhale as you bring your tube down, and that prevents it from dripping. Because if you're equal pressure and you do this, it can. Well, this one's not. There it is. I can see the drip. You probably can't. And I don't want to drip a whole lot because acetone will take the marks off my cutting mat. So let me make sure I'm clear of the table, evacuate some air, and all I do is I bring the tip in, and if I was working strictly with acrylic for making, what do I want to say? For making a display case, I would just touch the edge and then allow the bottle to use capillary action to wick the thinner out. And then it will spread in between the 2 cut edges of the acrylic and fill that gap, right? And you can see it, especially with acrylic. And on occasion, you can squeeze it a little if, like, there's a bad saw mark and it's a little bit whiter. With this, you can't see it. So, let's see. Is that gonna... That might. Sorry, I got to step out of camera to get this. Cut. I'll give myself a squeeze, bring the proboscis in. Now, I think one of the things I'm going to want to do as well is actually put a little more tension on this. I've got time. This isn't super glue. I'm going to want to put a little more tension on one side and a little more on the other side to get everything to flatten out a little more. Ooh, and look at that, it broke. Haha, that's concerning. Little ones aren't able to get in there. Yeah, the ring broke. That is not what I wanted at all. Now, when I did this originally, I had cardboard on my cutting mat to protect it. I don't have it. I forgot to put, I was talking. I forgot to put that up here. One of the things we did with Odin Makes many, many years ago is watch paint dry. Now we're watching glue dry. Well, I put too much tension on the outside where there's a gap and caused the inner ring to crack. Now, I still got plenty of goo. I can see cheese pool coming off of my my finger. Looks like I got a paper bag over here. That did not go the direction I wanted it to go. Right off the bat. You put too much on it. So I'm going to go grab more and put more on there. More on. What I really want to do is clamp it and not move it around so it gets a chance to dry. But running into an issue where I wasn't set up for that. Glad I only have to make one of these right now. Did I see this cracking before? Yeah, the styrene was cracking on me a little bit when I was making the 3 rings before, or making the 5 rings before. I didn't anticipate them doing it quite this easily, quite this quickly. Once I started getting going on putting this whole thing together. The solvent sets up fairly quickly. Like some of the exposed stuff is already mostly evaporated and mostly gone back to being solid, but it's not 100%. What I was doing was, when I was doing the entire ring and like this whole thing, I would glue one side. So I'd lay it down with a big piece of that thin cardboard I like using for patterns. I'd lay that across the table to protect my surface, and I would start creating the ring by clamping the pieces together, and then I would put glue around the edges and let it soak in, and I was hosing it down. In order to make the ring. So these are laminated with 3 layers each. and then I would turn it over and do the backside, and then flex them slightly in order to see what parts of the laminations hadn't been glued, right? Because if you flex the rings slightly, they would open up where they weren't glued together. So I could go back and glue all those together. So I kind of did that to all of them. And when I was doing all that, I had all the clamps because they would be able to lay flat on the table. I would clamp them up, I would glue them up, and I would leave them alone for like half an hour, 40 minutes, even an hour. It turned out like half an hour is about all I needed. And in order to let them really kind of set up. And I thought if I did this and I was going to be able to clamp it, I would be able to set it aside and start doing something else. Now I'm standing here holding the dang thing, and I don't really want to do that for the next half hour because I'm not holding it steady anyway. Brain wonders if I put a second one up here, it's going to, one, cause more stress, but it'll be more balanced. What I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to that is never going to, I mean, it is. I shouldn't say never. One of those things in the old shop, if I was set up easily, I'd just set up a, I keep separating. I put up a seat clamp or something else to be able to hang it, right? But I wasn't set up for that. I wasn't prepared for that, so that's just not going to happen. And this is how Odin breaks. Which way do I want to do this one? Okay, well, I kind of let go. It's still not happy in here. Yes, I'm adding more glue to the problem area because I'm wanting to as I kept moving it, it would actually weaken the bond. So I was trying to add a little more to help re-strengthen that bond. What I might do is to take a small bit of the scrap that I got and lay it across the center of the crack here in order to try and give this a little more chance. What's the word I'm looking for? Ralph's in England right now. He's going to be returning home tomorrow, and he met up with some people. Got to know through the YouTube channel, which is great fun. Oh, that's cool. Did you get to meet Vogman? That's cool. Like how the very first glue seam had a catastrophic failure. Yeah, still want to make these out of metal. I'm a huge fan of plastic, right? I like working with plastic. I'm familiar with plastic. Yeah, still want to make these out of metal. Now, part of me thinks I should take the other pair and glue them together. No, you'll never get them inside of this set. You got to put them in one ring at a time. And you don't want to do that until you get the other side glued and starting to set up. What do I have that's small enough and heavy enough I can put where my hands are so I can let go? That also, I don't mind getting glue on. Details. Okay, behave. Let's try that. What happened last time? Well, last time we put a lot of pressure on it and we broke it. So what are we going to do? Let's scoot it to the edge and we'll put more pressure on it and we'll pretend this time it won't break it. Because, you know, that's a reasonable thing to think, right? Okay, and I'll put these back as a way of keeping it from wiggling too much. And that should allow me to do the top. And that's got a way better connection of everything going on too. Now what's unfortunate is I have sealed up the edges, right? With the first application of glue. Here I am squirting more on. Because the first application of glue has caused the surface to melt, and then things have moved around, and then I bumped crap with my hands. Applying more glue isn't necessarily going to seep in between them anymore. It's just going to get the edges wet again, which isn't really ideal. Yeah. Yeah, what Shock Roman's saying is true. When they first contacted us, they said, hey, we're seeing there's a couple of things we need to get fixed. You guys can just do that Friday morning, right? You'll just kind of, when we set everything up at the convention center, you guys can just touch them up a little bit, and away we can go. In the guy who is coordinating all this, in his defense, he hadn't seen a picture of the state that they were in. And he also very openly and quickly admitted, oh yeah, those are way worse than I thought, after being stored for a year. And yeah, we're going to need more time. But yeah, the original thing was, hey, can we just do a quick fix and get these things like prettied up and ready to go for this year? It's like, I don't think this is working the way you think it's working. Let's just not put anything else on there. Well, let's not stress that out anymore. I like that. I hope this works out the way I want it to. All right. I want to go grab the next set. Let's get going on more. Give it a chance to set up, Odin. You're just going to screw yourself more. Okay. So ultimately my plan is to do kind of the similar things that we did before, where I've got the cat toys, which I can work on those actually. Probably drill small holes and just use small nails or technically tacks, and go through the ring and into the EVA cat toy in order to bond them all together. So yeah, let's set this stuff aside. Get her where she's not going to get gooey. Okay. I got my box of cat toys. So if I recall correctly, I was using the yellow and black ones. Actually, I know I was because I could see one that was cracked. So let's do, well, part of me is, I only need to do the ones I need to do, but then it's also, just do a full set. I'm pretty sure there's 6. Isn't there 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, there's only 5. Yeah, there is one per trail then. But there isn't. They're not set up in the right spot. Okay. Yeah, there's 5. Is there one here? No. Okay, there's 5, not 6. Give me that back. I don't have to have it memorized. I've got notes. I wrote it down so I didn't have to remember. One of the fun things with Epsilon Pro, for one thing, this is way out of date. Oh, this one isn't too bad. This is only 423. I believe I have to mix this up by weight, which means I'm going to have to find a... I don't think I can mix this by volume. Can I? Oh yeah, by volume. Mixed ratio by volume, 2 to 1. Okay. Mixed ratio by weight, 100 to 44. 100 parts A to 44 parts. Well, I guess it weighs different, so that's fine. Okay, 2 to 1. Good. I did not check this sheet last time, both as seen on the internet and Chakram, to remember when I mixed it up 1 to 1, and that stuff not only kicked off, it almost caught fire. Because exothermic reactions, chemical exothermic reactions, are a real thing. All right. 2 to 1 by volume. Gram scale is not needed to use this product. Okay, good. So then I need to get a couple of mixing containers. Conveniently, I have a chop. Oh, that was... Ew. Do I have one that's got less crap in it? That's a cleaner one. Okay. These are conveniently marked fluid ounces because they're American. Okay. I suppose something else I need to prepare for myself for is I'm going to need some... once I glue these... Once I coat these with Epsilon, I'm going to need to set them somewhere that is going to allow them to dry. So I'm going to need to plan for that and not just set them on the table where I'm going to get a gooey flat spot like a cake pop. So, but like a cake pop, I can put them on a stick. I've got sticks. So let's take the long ones. That should be enough. Then I just need something to put the sticks in so it can hold up, which these actually might work. Will the sticks fit in the... Oh, the sticks will fit in the screw holes. Oh, this is working out really well. All right. Then I just need to get something else so I don't get epsilon on my cutting mat. So I'm going to mix up epsilon in one of the containers. I'm going to take a cat toy that's been skewered with a bamboo skewer so I can coat them. And then I will just set it into the piece of plywood where it can then dry. For something as poorly planned out as this process was, that went together pretty quickly. That's my pencil square from making my rings. Okie dokie. I can just... Let's set up 2 pieces of cardboard on either side of my ring. I'm trying not to hit. Normally I spread things out when I'm doing this, so I'm not working around what I'm doing, but yeah, condensed on time here. Box out of the way. Okay. So I'm going to need to skewer all of these to prep them. Do I need to skewer them to where I end up putting the rings around the equator? No, but that's what my brain wants me to do, so I'm doing it. Once these are coated in epsilon, and once they're glued in place on the atom trails, they'll get spray painted gold, and you'll never see it, so it doesn't matter. Love when a plan comes together. Hey, you stupid monkey. Yeah, cake pop demon hunters. That's awesome, Nimblus. Oh, Shady's here. Sweet. Oh, Superson is asking what happened to the portal gun. That actually at one point in time went to a con and didn't come home, but that was okay because that time, as opposed to some other cons, I agreed to the exchange of money for the Rick and Morty portal gun, as opposed to some of the things I had, like Red Guardian's helmet and Thanos' helmet, and Captain America's Wakanda shields. Those all disappeared from a con, either because I wasn't paying attention or they were packed poorly and blew out of the truck. One of the two. Yeah, so anyway, I don't have... There's actually a good selection of props I don't have anymore. But that's okay. I've got room to make more. Yes, I plan on making more. Have you seen SKS Props' new video? He made Dungeon Crawler Carl's gauntlet, which is pretty cool. I remember my friend Joe Gillis, the guy from Beyond Geek, the guy from Post-Apocalyptic Joe. When he started writing his Post-Apocalyptic Joe book, he was talking about Dungeon Crawler Carl and how popular it was getting. This was years ago. And now for me to look at it going, wow, yeah, Joe is right. So it's interesting. It's interesting how well Joe can pick up on things that are going to be popular, but his stuff doesn't. I'm sorry, Joe. Or it hasn't yet. There you are. Oh, interesting. This is a generic hardener. It can be used with multiple systems, not just Epsilon. I don't need a whole lot. I need enough to coat these guys. I also need enough to mix. So I do 3 fluid ounces of this and 6 fluid ounces of the other one. I'll have way more than enough to coat everything and stuff to throw away. I could probably do 2 and 4, but I think I'm going to do 3 and 6 just to make sure that I have enough, right? It's going to be easier to throw a little bit away of expired material than try and mix it up again when my only mixing cups are dirty. I've got plenty of this. Thank you, Department of Water Resources, for donating a lot of Epsilon to Odin Makes. Probably should shake this one a little bit too. Also, if I mix it up a little bit hot, since it is expired, right? I don't want to mix it up too hot, but if I mix it up slightly hot, it'll do a little better with kicking off. But I think I'll just follow the directions. There we go. Okay, so I got 3 fluid ounces of activator and I got 6 fluid ounces of base, which I could double check the instructions that I got the right ratios, but it's kind of obvious from the bottle. Okay. I could mix into a whole new container, but how about if I dirty one less thing and I just pour the activator into the base. Before I start this, is there anything else going on over here? Ah, TVWX Spidey is relieved to see me building again. Thank you, Spidey. Oculus wants to know the most popular prop I've taken to cons. It depends on the con. Jerry Can Cosplay. Hey, Jerry. Justin Diaz is asking, what am I making right now? That's a good question. I haven't talked about it for a little bit. Chop Grumman gives some really good answers there for most popular. And following the directions. What's that like? Just following the directions. What's that like? It hurts! Okay. What the hell was I had some other thought. I got distracted here. The Dungeon Crawler Carwell Gauntlet, I liked it, but I do wish it had been a foam build. Oh, it wasn't a foam build? Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't know it wasn't a foam build. Huh. I assumed it was because it was SKS props. All right, so I'm just going to pour the activator into the base. I'm going to use the wide end of the chopstick as a way of getting something about stories. Oh, what are you building, Odin? That was the question I got asked. That was something I had an interest in doing. So hello, thank you for tuning in, everyone. Thank you for those who came in a little bit late and wondering what the heck I'm working on right now. I am making a giant-sized, they call it a science ball, that goes on the top of the Emmy Award. An Emmy Award is something that's done in the United States for television excellence. And there is 2 different regions, or 2 different, not regions, it's the wrong word, 2 different categories of Emmy Awards. You have your national Emmys, which, if you've ever heard of the Emmy Awards, you've ever watched the Emmy Awards on TV, you've seen the national Emmys. These are the awards that are done for television programs that are nationwide, that are run coast to coast, that are put out in National is a great way to put it. They're the national awards. Now, what I'm working on is an 8-foot tall replica of a regional award. So national is nationwide programming. Regional is regional programming. These Emmys were developed for primarily news stations, because your local news stations, even in big markets, still don't do news nationally, especially when the Emmys started. I mixed up way too much, man, whatever. Especially when the Emmy started, there weren't any news networks like there are now. CNN and C-SPAN and a lot of those other ones, they did not exist. When the Emmy started, it was all being done by the broadcast affiliates. You had your NBC affiliate, your CBS affiliate. NBC, CBS, ABC were the nationwide big three networks. There were more, but they were the big three networks that really survived the TV era. And but for your local market, you would have your nightly news that would pertain more to what people are watching. And because those weren't national programs, they didn't qualify for national Emmys. And as a way of recognizing that those are still TV professionals, still producing televised content, they created the regional Emmys. So they broke the nation up into however many numbers of regions. I don't know how many there are. And when I was working for PBS, the station I worked in fell under the Northern California region. PBS came along well after the regional Emmys, but because the PBS station, I better get going on this, I can smell it, PBS station still is broadcasting and supplying content to a local community and not nationwide. They fall under, that was interesting, there was like a clunk in there. They fall under the regional Emmys. And so all the little documentaries, all the little things that PBS makes, the local stations make, those all fit under the umbrella of being a regional Emmy or regional television program. And that's what I won my awards for. I was an editor for a local PBS station. Now, as it turns out, the people that run these regional departments for the Emmys have to be professionals, right? By definition, you want your chapter presidents, you want the people who are doing the judging. Everything is all done by professionals who are part of the field and are working in the industry. So I'm working at the station, and one of the guys who is, thank you, Toby, one of the guys who is volunteering and is doing a lot with the regional Emmys of getting things set up, is in a discussion. This is like pretty much 5 years ago at this point. It's 4 years, but 5 Emmy Awards, Emmy Award cycles. They're talking about what are they going to do for decorations? What are they going to do to make their show special? And Toby literally says, I think someone says, hey, let's make a giant Emmy Award. It can be used as a photo opportunity. And Toby says, I know a guy. And yeah, so because of Toby's recommendation, I got a chance to talk to Randy, and we got permission. This is the key part. We got permission from National in order to use their registered trademarked trophy design and make a large 8-foot tall replica that could be used as a photo opportunity for the attendees to take selfies with. And that's all it was supposed to be for. So we got permission to make it, and away we went. Myself and Shock Grumman and Treg and some other fantastic people from the Harris Center up in Folsom, where we did a lot of this work. We all spent a few weeks quickly banging out this foam 8-foot Emmy replica. A year goes by, it doesn't survive, and then Shock Grumman has the good idea to go ahead and 3D print one. I said it was going to take too long the first time, and it probably was with the skills we had at the time. But honestly, we ended up, the second year, once we started 3D printing one, the first 3D print was in PLA, was silk PLA, with the hope that we weren't going to have to paint it. Yeah, you had to, because you could see where the pieces got glued together. So when they decided that, hey, can we use the foam one from the first year and just put it on stage? It won't be up close and it'll look great. It's like, no, that thing didn't survive storage outside for a year in its crate. The wind blew the crate over. She broke the waist. So Shop Gremlin looked into using ABS filament and printed a second one. First one was 54 days. Second one was just over 2 weeks for printing because of layer height. The first one was a super small layer height to try and get the best resolution, the best so on and so forth, right? With getting this giant Emmy printed out. But then that wasn't going to happen for the ABS one, and so we did it thicker because we did a test. Actually, we tried to do it with ASA first. We did a test and found out that could print it out pretty big as far as layer lines go, and then do a vapor bath on it, and that would smooth out the layer lines, and it literally made it look like antique glass. So we were able to get the second ones done, and literally now, so that was the second year for the Emmys. Now we're on the 5th award ceremony of doing this. I keep saying 5, but I'm trying to remember right. Is it 5 or is it 4 now? Are we on year 5 or are we on year 4? Anyway, I think we're on year 5. Is it really the 4th time for these guys? Because we did it in San Francisco, and then they moved to Sacramento, right? We didn't do 2 years in San Francisco. We did with the PLA ones. All right, I'm not remembering. it's a blur. So okay, we did 2 years in San Francisco with the 3D printed ones, and now we're on our second year in Sacramento. Yeah, and I actually get to go this year, which is pretty cool. Wow, I can smell that. I can smell it. So I mixed up. Ooh, it's starting to smoke. Let me take this outside. Oh, yeah, look at that. Oh, that's cool. Yep. Is it kicking off? Yes, it is. I've got a biscuit of material. Well, that's good. Okay. Let me go set this outside so it can do all of its whatever it wants to do, not in this room. Yeah. Of course, I realized I could have talked the whole time. I got a wireless mic on. The whole time I walk outside, you could have heard me. You heard the door anyway. But yeah, that was kicking off. All right, well, I got them all covered. They're all shiny. They're all drying, which is good. So that's happening. Nanu. News and public broadcasting. Oh, what is 54 ABS one took 2 weeks. The prime ones are on year 4. Printed ones are in year 4. When you include the first foam one, this is year 5, which is part of the national permission contract. Right. It was steaming. Yeah. Hello, good sir. I love your videos. Thank you, Big Daddy Dragon 4226. Yeah, the original. So this is one of the things, and what's going to be kind of fun tonight, are next Saturday. Originally, when Natus, which is well, I call them Natus. That's wrong. When the Northern California region, you know, the guy in charge was talking to us, they got permission to use the statues, right? Because you have to. You can't just, oh, I'm going to make a big Emmy. No, this is a copyrighted specific award. You have to have permission in order to make a large size one because it is a copyrighted shape or a registered shape. We actually have to put the little circle R next to the word Emmy on the base, because we're going to make it, the 54th annual Emmy Award and put that around the base, or 54th NorCal Emmy Award and put that around the base. But next to Emmy, we actually have to put the little circle R restricted symbol, because the Emmy is a restricted property owned by National. So we got permission specifically from National to make the large Emmy. And that's important to note, because we've actually been contacted by other chapters about, hey, we want one too. And it's like, yeah, sure. It takes this long. It's going to cost this much of materials, and you got to get a hold of National and make sure you have permission to do it. And we don't hear back from them, which is okay. That's fine. And I don't think it's necessarily permission. It's just it's going to cost us much to make it, and then you guys got to ship it. And I think that's kind of where it falls apart at. But what's nice is this year, for the first time that I'm aware of over the past few years, the head of National is going to be attending the Northern California Emmy Awards. And so there's a possibility I'll get to meet whoever the head is, which is kind of cool. And that'll give us a chance to very casually say, hey, this was the original agreement. We could do this for 5 years. It was to build statues that could survive for 5 years. We had permission to put them out for 5 years. Can we extend that agreement? Can we extend permission to use these full-sized, Emmys as decorations for our event? Right? It's the right thing to ask, because I do believe Shop Groman is 100% right in remembering that had a time limit, and that time limit's coming up. But what's also cool is just getting a chance to say hi to the head of the Emmys, because the first year we did the 8-foot Emmy, right? We got permission. We did the 8-foot Emmy. It's out on social media. The very next year, which is only like half a year later, because the regionals happened like spring and the nationals happened in fall, early winter. So that very next national award, they had a 16-foot one on their stage because they were going to be one up by the regionals. That may not be the case at all, but that's what it looked like to me as the person who made the 8-foot one. And I'm still laughing at it because it's like, oh, that's awesome. Because that's awesome. El Borto. I love your channel. It's so inspiring. Thank you, El Boroto. Oh, Big Daddy says my video of the Magic the Gathering spellbooks inspired them to make a big one. Cool. Okay, so this is probably doing pretty good. I hear it cracking. Yeah, that's pretty good. I don't want to move these because these are acting as a kickstand. This may need help and attention again. So I got my North Pole, my South Pole. Now I need to put the two more that go inside that just kind of crisscross. And that is what these guys are. I specifically saved the smallest one to go as the last one in to hopefully have the least amount of stress on it. Now, if I remember correctly, yeah, it's just 90 degrees. So this goes in. And all I want to do is have it be like here. I can probably, yeah. There's going to be, well, it's mashed down, so that's okay. I wonder if clothespins are going to be strong enough. They weigh less, put less stress in the bottom. I'm trying to visualize the X that's going to go in the middle to make sure that I've got a pretty good connection. Yeah, that's a good possibility, Odin, that if it's not laying flat, you don't have a good 45. But then, of course, I got the issue that the rings are flexible. They're not inflexible. I'm going to need something stronger for that. All right. Yeah, that's going to be better. Do I have enough of those? Probably don't. That one's doing pretty good. I probably can do that with just a pair of paper. No, that's got a big gap. I need to put something tough on it that's going to hold the pieces together. Sudden thought goes through the head. Hey, Odin, you keep talking about 3D printing the full Emmy statuettes, the goddess parts. Why didn't you 3D print the science ball? You know, it's always been this. Well, we'll just make the science ball from scratch. Got 4. How many put on? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, every intersection. That makes sense. So I don't have 6 small clamps. I don't think, as much as I want to set this one up now, I guess I can eyeball it. I don't think I'm going to be gluing this one yet. I think I'm going to glue it independent because I don't have enough of the big heavy clamps. But this would get me to, yeah, that looks fine. Another fun thing with this that I noticed, especially making the one out of the foamed PVC boards, the foamed PVC pieces, it is really flimsy until you get all the pieces put on, and then all of a sudden, it's got some strength to it. As he proceeds to just put all the clamps on anyway. I'll have one here. Okay. Now there's more than 6 because I got one extra one, so it should be 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Missing one. 7, 8. I don't have any more spring clamps that I'm not using in some other way. How vital is this one? Okay. Something I need to be sure of before I glue is so this is pretty much the same orientation from when she holds it on this guy, not on, so I'm mostly okay. I just got to get the atom trails to go above her hand, which they're not right now. Okay. So I know this one's off to the side a little bit harder to see. By having I'm calling it the poles, it's the intersection of the 3 rings. So I got my south pole and my north pole. And then towards the camera, I've got the X of the other 2. This X is too wide. I need to bring these X's in a little bit in order to match what this is, because this, I'm going to assume that I made this one more accurate. I'm making an assumption. So yeah, I need to... Oh, the top is looking okay, kind of. Do I just need to loosen these up and move these up a little bit? Is there a way to measure that isn't going to make me go insane? That's not big enough. That's not what I wanted to have happen. Let me just put it right back. All right. Let me go set it over here so I don't have to make another one in a day. Yeah. Well, I was doing pretty good there, and Mr. Guy in charge, until I made a live stream, and then, you know, I broke it on screen, on camera. But it was on camera, right? So that's okay. Okay. And so that means, is it about a foot this way? It's a little more. Okay. It looks like I've got about, on that one, this ring, this intersection is about a foot from the pole, and this intersection is about 1 foot from the pole. This is definitely not a foot. So let me take the smallest ring off, the last one I put on. Let me take that off and out totally. I don't have to take it out completely, but it seems like, oh, you know what? I grabbed the wrong one. That's fine. I got to take that one off too. Okay. Wants to be about a foot, which is going to be about here. Mr. Clamp. Wants to be about a foot, which is about where this is. So I want to go about a foot from down here, which, yeah, is going to be pretty much where my kickstand is. So this needs to move, because this guy needs to come way up here. Wish I could adequately describe what Epsilon smells like. It's got, you know, it smells like urethane probably, but it's got a smell to it. Okay, a little bit more. This is totally accurate measuring, if you can't tell. About a foot. Okay, so that should be okay. Before I clamp the others on, let's do the same thing to the other ring. I feel like the thing General Zod got trapped in for Superman, watching that thing move around. Thank you, Cheese, for the tape measure that's got markings on both sides. So I'm going to want this to come down here. Put the clamp on. The clamps. And yeah, my foot mark is right about where the kickstand is. What a shock. Okay, so... It's going to want to go about up here. About there. But I still want a kickstand. Okay. Is that a foot? It's a little shy. All right, that's probably a little more. Let's just bring it down. About there is probably fine. And then we'll make the poles match up. If I can just get my hand in there. My whole shoulder cracks. Congratulations, Odin, you're old. Okay. Ralph loves being a scrapper. That's a lot of clamps. Yeah. I made it finally. How is everyone? Strictly Games is here. Hey, Strick. Almost cat toy pops. Yep. I'm afraid to touch him yet. I got a spare stick. Still gooey. Because these are thinner, they're going to take longer to set up than the vat that I had that kicked off. But hopefully when that thing's fully set up, I can pop it out of the mixing container and keep the mixing container. And if not, well, I'm buying a mixing container. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, I'm not sure what we were working on recently. That's like, I need more clamps. And so I ended up going to Harbor Freight Tools and buying more of their inexpensive clamps. Glad I did. Oh, shit. That's a super chat. I see the bar. Okay. Do I have a clamp on every connection? So, following this ring. I got one here, here. Yep. Yeah, all of them. Okay, so then with this one, going this ring, got a clamp on every connection. Okay. Does look a little lopsided. Careful of that. Not excited by it looking a little lopsided. I wonder how much of that's an illusion because of the high one here, the low one there. Oh, look on video. What does the video say? Stop looking with your eyes and look on video. That looks okay. It's funny that me standing behind it, looking up at it, this outer ring, which is the topmost ring, is making it look like it's leaning that way severely. And even though the camera is not straight on, it's pretty close, I don't see it. So, quick check from Shock Gremlin. What do they think? Because I'm just going to go ahead and glue it, I think. Well, I don't have a whole lot of choice, really. What am I going to do? Undo the clamps and rearrange things again? Well, yeah, I can do that. I've done that at least once now. Yetrix Gamer. With, SEK65. Really? Cool. Hi, Odin. I love your videos. May I request for the future if you could ever make Stella's staff from Winix Club? You know, that's one I'll have to look up. Yetrix? Stella's staff from Winix Dub. Huh. Okay. Orbison 7429. What am I making? Well, for those of you who are tuning in, I need to put glue on it here pretty quick. What I'm working on is the science ball that goes to the top of a giant Emmy. This is one of the regional Emmys that I've won when I was working in the television industry. And what I'm doing is I'm making an 8-foot tall version for the Northern California chapter of the Emmys to have their gala, their big award ceremony that's going to be happening next Saturday. And so this is this science ball, but at 2 feet tall. So all told, with the finished one, we've got the base done, and we've got the goddess basically done. She needs to be painted. Once they're all put together, she'll be 8 feet, almost exactly to the top up here. And that's what was requested. In fact, there's another one there in the background. You can see, I love how I'm concerned about how round this is. Then I'll look at that thing. It's like, oh, that's lopsided, so who cares? I'm fine. Glue it. Because we're making 2 of these. One goes down on the floor where the attendees for the big event can stand around it and have selfies taken with a giant Emmy statue. And then there's another one that goes up on stage as set dressing. And so both need a science ball, but the one from one of the 2 from last year got broke. So I get to make a whole new one. And that is what I'm working on today, is getting a science ball glued together so we can get it sprayed, so I can get it sanded and get it spray painted gold, and we can have a science ball for this year's Emmy, this year's regional Emmys. And I am grateful I get to go. We actually got invited to attend the event, I think just Thursday. It was one of those texts that came through. It was like, hey, Odin, were you planning on attending? It's like, well, I'm not actually a member because I don't work in the industry anymore, but yeah, I would love to go. You actually have to be a active member in the television industry in order to be, well, I guess you don't have to be in order to be a member. They'll let anyone pay dues, but in order to qualify for winning an award, you have to be an active member. So that's probably a better way to put it. Am I getting glue to come out? No, I'm not. There it goes. So I'm using an applicator to squeeze a solvent, cement, solvent glue that we made up. Well, we mixed up. I didn't make it up, as in I didn't create it. It's acetone and butyl acetate. Okay, I'm going to need to double clamp a lot of these. Let's do the big ones up here. This is going to be one of those, do it, and then do the clamps again, and close the gaps and do it again. But anyway, I got distracted. I don't know. I was talking about being part of the Emmys, being part of... Okay, I can't glue those because I can't close them enough. The little guys don't close them enough. So I'm making a prop for a live event, which is pretty cool. Okay, it's running down the inside, so that's plenty. Nope, look at that. It broke. Yeah, it broke right where one of the seams was. All right. That's not ideal. Can I... Okay. Don't pinch your finger when you're trying to clamp something. That doesn't help. Okay. And that wasn't even the smallest one. Huh. Yeah. Bummer. That broke, but that's two that have cracked. And they're splitting where there's a gap. There's multiple pieces that there's 3 layers that make up each ring, right? And each ring is made up from multiple strips that are, just over a meter. They're 4 feet long by however wide my yardstick was, in order to cut the traces. And then I layered them all together, and I tried to, where you have the ring pieces meet, I tried to, in good Lego faith and brick faith, move those to be at different places. Twice now I've had rings break. This one just did, and this one down here did. And at both times, I believe it broke where there was a gap from one of the rings. So the 2 remaining layers is a weak point, and the solvent glue softens the plastic enough, it actually pops itself apart. So, yay! But, okay, we'll fix it, because the show's going to happen. So we'll fix it. I am trying. There it is. Where's my funnel? It's right behind you. It's where you put it. It's safe. This bottle was full, just a couple of days ago. Good enough. The blue tape is this is the only bottle I have of this size. The blue tape years ago, feels like years ago, months ago when we made the R6 droid, I had put the blue tape at the fluid level so I could monitor what the evaporation level, because even though it's sealed inside of a chemical resistant jar, the acetone still manages to evaporate because it's not a metal container. So it was just a way of seeing how much acetone had evaporated while it sat on the shelf. And a lot did. At this point, we are literally waiting for glue to dry. We're waiting for the solvents to off gas and for the styrene to reconnect itself. Pity we can't bring the first ball back from the dead. Yeah, pretty much. What material are the rings? Styrene, correct. No, they're not EVA foam. That'd be too floppy. It's styrene plastic. Styrene is... okay, I would make a guess off the name. I don't know what material it's made out of. It's made out of styrene. Styrene plastic is the same type of plastic that most model kits are made out of. Like the majority of the injection molded model kits of cars and spaceships and things that you buy, those are generally made out of a styrene plastic. So the glue that I'm using here would totally work on one of those models. You just need to be careful you don't get glue in places that will ruin detail. It's called high impact styrene plastic, HIPS, literally. That's the sheet that I go and buy from Tap Plastics or from Interstate Advanced Materials. Both places are suppliers of sheet plastic in my area, and it's easy to walk in and buy materials from them. And I believe this stuff came from there. This styrene plastic is also very easy to vacuum form with, and I think this one specifically, one of the intentions of this material was for sign shops to use it to make vacuum formed dimensional signs, because once it's vacuum formed and it's just a thin layer, it is just translucent enough that it can be illuminated for nighttime use. So I think that was kind of one of the industrial uses for it. at least locally. But I build models out of it. What grade of sandpaper am I going to use for EVA foam for removing material and then to smooth it out? Big Daddy Dragon, there isn't a specific grit, and I don't usually use sandpaper. I don't usually sand like this on EVA. Usually it's on with a belt sander, something that's mechanically moving in one direction continuously, and that's like 120. It's actually fairly aggressive because it takes AVA away in a hurry. And even though it's that aggressive, because it's moving consistently in one direction, it doesn't really make it all that fuzzy, right? So belt sanders or rotary tools are very much my recommendation for sanding EVA foam, because it sands easy and it goes together easier. Is that a seam coming undone, or is it breaking on the outer ring? What one that happened, or is there something else happening? Do you see something I don't? It was the rings themselves breaking. It was breaking at a seam. There's 3 layers glued together, but of course they butt together, and not all of them were perfect. They had a sub-millimeter gap. And so what happened was the 2 layers split because they were softened by the glue and tension, so it split. Stupid Monkey, who is currently the number 3 commenter. You know more than me, so maybe a dumb idea. Why not put a thick layer of craft foam between layers to help stress tension from being moved? You probably won't be able to use a solvent glue, though. Correct. I wouldn't be able to use a solvent glue. It would have to be glued together with something else. It would make it lighter. I don't know if it would help it. Really, I just really want to... I want to get the spot welder going, and I want to do this out of 1-inch bands of steel that are thin, right? Especially since we know that once the shape is put together, it's pretty solid. So it would be the 1-inch rings of steel. If it was like 2 layers or even 3 layers each, again, that were spot welded into rings, they would still be somewhat flexible. But once they were all said and done, I think it would do pretty good. But I don't know. That may just be wishful thinking. Man, I wish I had a laser pointer. Oh, you guys can actually see it happening on the other side, huh? You'll look on screen here. I'm seeing seams. So, not here. Here, that's a seam between the outermost layers. So that's not cracking. Over here, that's a seam from the outermost layers. That's not cracking. That's a seam. This down here was the crack. So this seam down here is where the parts separated and broke. So I'll probably have to do something for that. I don't see any others. But all these lines, even like back here, where is it? It's up here. That's just where the 2 pieces of styrene were meeting up. I haven't done any kind of putty work or melted styrene goo work to fill all those in. It doesn't take long to make that stuff. Laser pointer. Are you done yet? Getting there. This is all a depiction of what Enoch saw. Maybe Dan. You ever use the electric bread knife for EVA foam? I know you have for upholstery foam, and I think you said before. I don't use the electric bread knife for EVA foam. It doesn't cut it that cleanly. EVA foam, I think, is a little too dense. Same with hot wire cutters. I don't like trying to cut EVA foam with hot wire cutters. I don't get a clean enough edge to make it worth my time. Dan! Hello, Dan. It seems fine to me. Thank you, Dan. Dan, thanks for popping in. What we're working on, it's that time of year to make the 8-foot Emmy again. And so we're making a new science ball for one of the Emmy Awards that's going to be 8 feet tall. One of the ones we had from last year didn't survive. It shattered. So making a new one. The ceremony is next weekend, so kind of need to get this done. Now, as I can see, I am going to run out of time as far as the live stream goes. And I don't think I'm going to get done with doing this. My apologies. But once we get everything painted, oh, that's already set up pretty good. Once we get everything painted and everything is set up at the convention center, I'll post some pictures to my Instagram and you guys will be able to see it. Don't do too much because you'll just break it. Okay. Have I done that one yet? I have not. Let's... I think that one had glue on it, didn't it? Yeah. Nope, that one's not done. Oh, that's barely got any in it. Yeah. Squish. Please squish good. Okay. How's this guy look? That looks pretty good. That one's staying. Just did one of these. I can smell the Epsilon. Got my head over him. That's the one that broke. Let's not touch that one. I'm moving the clamps around and seeing if I can't get the plastic to squeeze together again, and it looks like I'm not gonna. All right. Let's get this on the front. Okay. Oh, cool. Smoosh it with the clamps. Thank you, Dan. Yes. Ralph working on a new video. Cool. Okay, so I'm seeing something I didn't do that I should have done. It's probably too late now, which was use the heat gun on the cat toys because they have air bubbles. and a heat gun would pop the air bubbles. But there it is. I've waited long enough. It's probably set up, and I've just got what I've got. And honestly, that's fine. They're going to be fine. I'm not sure if I'm getting the results I want out of that or not. So it looked like a couple of the air bubbles popped because of applying heat to the resin, but it also looked like more opened up, ones that were stuck to the EVA foam that hadn't quite got to the surface, which is now giving it more of a sponge texture. So I think I'm done doing that. Not what I wanted. Okay. So some of the things I know I'm going to do is I'm going to take the scrap that I've got. I suppose I could just do that because I kind of have an idea where this is going to go. And I think I'm going to make a fourth layer where her hands are going to go to help support it better, especially now that I got more of the angle that I want. So yeah, let's just go ahead and do that now. Odin, you just cut plastic with scissors. Yeah. I don't normally do that. I'm a huge fan of hobby knives. I'll save that scrap so I can make some of the putty. Both with ASA and ABS 3D printing filament and styrene, you can, much like I talked about with Lego, which is ABS, you can put pieces into pure acetone or a mixture of acetone and butyl acetate and make a putty that can be used to fill in the little holes. And I'll probably do that. It seems like something I should do. But at the same time, there's enough tension on this that applying something with that much solvent onto a joint could make it pop like it did here and there. So I'm undecided on if I actually want to do that or not. I mean, you know, part of it is, hey, if I don't do it, I can be lazy and do less. And I'm all for that. I like that plan. But there we go. So I got that one done. Now, is this going to fit on this side too? Yeah, that's pretty much the right angle. Okay. Yeah, like that. Okay. This is where the butyl acetate really helps. I am just going to cover the styrene with a thin coat of this glue mixture. Actually, I can see it evaporating already where I started. The acetone wouldn't stick around long enough for me to do that, even in here, even in the room temperature that I'm in here. Does that mean I'm breathing acetone fumes? Yes, it does, because that's what happens when it evaporates. It creates fumes, and fills the room. Is that smart? Does this fit underneath it? No. Good. Okay. Honestly, I might even put a fifth layer on where their hands are going to go, just to help give it some more strength. I mean, it's attached with 1/4 bolts, so they're 1/4 inch wide with, oh wow, that was like way too short. Yeah. Do I want to try again? Do I care? Apparently I do. I'm thinking about it pretty hard. Yeah. 1/4 is kind of the same bolt pattern that like most of the camera gear is. It's just it seems to end up being a fairly common bolt size with the stuff that I'm working on. And I don't know if that's because I favor that bolt, it's just the way it works out, or if it's just that common. But whatever. It's not any different than an M8 by 125 screw. It's just a common size that's used for all sorts of things, using the American form of measurement. I'm seeing stuff being... There's comments happening. There it is. Wait, is that it, or is it this side? It was this side. There's my mark. So I made the tiniest of marks. Okay. With the razor. And then I'm rubbing on the plastic after making a mark with the razor, because the crap that's on my fingers, the dirt that's on my fingers, that's just there from working on stuff, will work its way into the small bit of cut that I had made, and I can actually see the mark, even though it's a tiny little mark off to the side. Hopefully that makes sense. That's what I'm doing. Come on. Oh, okay. It's close. It's real close. It needs to go from that mark, high mark, to that mark. Okay. Make sure I get some get some clothespins over here so I can do the whole clamp thing. And then punch it when I'm trying to reach inside, because best thing you can do is put a lot of stress and damage on your project before you even get going, right? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's intentional. It's product testing. It's stress testing for what your build is. It's not being aware of where your hand is and punching your project when you're trying to put things together. Okay. Save some of these shavings. I'll need to get a little glass jar, and I can make some putty. But do I want to do that? I don't want shit to break. Oh, I don't think I put any glue on this yet. Have I not glued? I have not glued that one at all. Oh, okay, I forgot that one. Now, on the chance that all this glue that I'm putting on here and all the solvent stuff that I'm putting on here isn't strong enough to actually hold it, right? Like stuff starts breaking, I can always go back and use fasteners, right? As long as the rings themselves don't disintegrate on me. Yeah, I'm rushing it. We're not going to be dry before I'm ready to stop the stream. So let's just let this set. So I got the ring built. I've got the bottoms reinforced where her hands are going to go. So I'll have to drill the 1/4-inch hole, which is about 6 millimeter, through the rings wherever her hands fall, right? So I can't do that until I'm next to the statue, because each one's, I think they're consistent enough because they were 3D printed that the balls could go in either one. I don't quite remember, so we'll have to see. Hopefully this can be the close-up one, because I'm liking this shape better than that shape. Fortunately, we're stuck with waiting for glue to dry. I'm repeating myself. Why? Because I'm at the end of my 3-hour stream. My brain is done. I'm ready for lunch. But I got a lot done. So I want to thank you guys very much for hanging out with me today. Don't forget to eat the dry glue off your fingertips. It's a very important step. Thank you. My logistics specialist is always here with really good health and safety tips, like eating the glue off of your fingertips. Yeah, and, I've got forbidden cake pops, so that's on the menu today too. What's the width of the bands of the ball? Okay, so the width. So you want to talk about this dimension here? It's like 1 1/8. It's literally how wide my yardstick was, because I set those two pieces of plywood. I clamped them to the table, and I would put the plastic up against it, and then I would put the yardstick on top of it, and then I would just cut the width of the yardstick, because good enough, right? I could do measurements, and I could scale it up, but from what I recall, it's pretty close to this. So what is this width? It is 1 1/8 inch, or 29 millimeter. That's what they are. And then it's the thickness is, they're almost a 1/4 inch thick. They're about 5 millimeter. Smoosh with the clamps. Schultz says they're preparing their old 3D printer for Doomsday prints. I have a plan for me to be at the cinema as Doom, and the girlfriend and kids are the Latverian witches. I'll model all from the trailer. Good luck! Definitely good luck there, Schultz. That's very cool. Alrighty. Yeah. Dan, Shop Gremlin, I appreciate you guys coming on and being moderators for the chat. That is very much appreciated. You guys are fantastic rock stars for being willing to do that when neither one of you are on payroll. Thank you very much for volunteering to do that and spending your time with me and taking care of that. Dan, I'm very excited about getting to hang out with you again at SAC Anime. Now that I moved shops, I'm a little too far away from Dan and haven't hung out with him as much as I had the past year. Everyone else who spent their Sunday afternoon with me, thank you very much for spending your time with me, listening to my silly stories and watching me try and figure out for the third time how to put this thing together with a different material, which immediately makes me want to say, because there's lots of different ways you can make a giant size science ball for the Emmys, but this is how Odin makes. Treg, thank you very much for being one of the first persons to pop in and watch today, and being a huge part of the build initially. Treg the Viking was there when we made the first 8-foot Emmy, when we had to do every piece and get it done, and they did a lot with building the bases. So thank you very much for all of your help with that. Everyone, I'm going to be back in 2 weeks. Next week is the Emmys, and so the Sunday of next week is Load Out. The Emmys run till almost midnight. Everyone just goes home, and you come back the next day, and the sound guys take down the stages, it is a production to put one of these on. It is a live event. The stages and lights and catering and wait staff and photographers and plus you have the entire staff who is wrangling all the awards, because it's an award and nobody knows who's winning and who's not. But of course they have to know beforehand, so the awards are ready. All that stuff is kept not super secretly. You can see where it is, but it's done in such a way that nobody can tip the hat and know if they won earlier or not. And there's a whole crew of people that help maintain that aspect of it, which is not simple. It's a bunch of weird codes. So, thank all to you people who have no idea that I'm talking about you. But, it's really cool. I'm excited I get to go. So that's what I'm doing all next weekend, basically. Weekend after that, I'm going to do a live stream. I will be here back in 2 weeks, probably making a sign for SAC Anime. There's a product called Jiggle Defender, which is it's a fashion tape. It's a high-strength fashion tape specifically made for cosplay. And the people have got together with Aria51, who's not watching today, or not watching live today. Hello, because you may be watching later on. Next Sunday, I'm going to get the laser cutter set up, and I'm going to make the Jiggle Defender signage that we need to put together for SAC Anime, because they were nice enough to donate a lot of the tape and a lot of some other, it's like tape remover, as well as I think a liquid adhesive that's all designed for keeping EVA foam stuck to you, keeping the fabric pieces of your costume in places where it needs to be, because the drawn outfit on a human form does not stay in place when the fabric is placed on a real person in the real world, when sweat and gravity is involved. So it's just a quick little thank you sign for helping us out with cosplay repair. But I'll be preparing for SAC Anime next weekend in 2 weeks during the live stream. So where's Felicia? She's still doing her own thing. When I moved, I'm a little too far away to expect her to drop by every week. So, we haven't quite meshed together yet for doing a live stream. And of course, I can always go to her place and live stream from her place, which probably end up doing in late September, early October. Everyone, thank you very much for tuning in and joining me. I'm going to shut up with my miles-long good nights. And I'll see you back again here in 2 weeks with another live stream. Thank you all very much for spending your Sunday with me. I'll walk over here, behind all the stuff. Put my hand through my project. Yep, Schultz Vision says, take care, everyone. Always a pleasure, and smash that like button. We've got Lopaka76 says, I'm glad to see you're back. Thank you. Glad to be back. And hey, I buy that, says Logistics Specialist. Don't feel bad. I'm always late. Yeah. See you next time, Odin friends. Yep, see you next time, Ralph. All right. Shut up. Click the off button. Yeah, it's cool to hang out with my friends, though. I enjoy that.